Morning friends, it's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Welcome back. We arrived back home from our New York weekend trip last night, and today I'm ready to get a whole bunch of stuff checked off the list. It's Tuesday and I have a lot of things I need to do. So we're going to start in the home garden today, and then we're going to pop over to the farm just to kind of take stock of plans, and I have to make sure I have all the tools and equipment I need. I am not going to be digging beds today out there. I'm going to try to start shaping the beds that we currently have that are done. The seedlings are now starting to harden off. Every day I'll give them a little bit more time in the sun and the general weather, and hopefully by the end of the week they'll be ready to go in the ground. Our compost arrives on Thursday, so I've got a little bit of time to bed prep those beds and to do a whole bunch of work here in the home garden for our vegetables. So starting here first, I wanted to show you that we've lost a lot of the vegetables that we planted, and I don't think necessarily that it's rats, because I haven't been, the traps aren't even triggering, they're still baited, they're just sitting here. Now it's possible that it's still rats and they're just super smart and they might just not be falling for it anymore, but I did unfortunately catch a bird in a rat snap trap. Breaks my heart. And some of the damage does look like torn leaves and stuff. That could potentially be birds. And I know that they're eating some of my vegetables in the backyard. They're shredding it, and we can actually sit and watch them do that. So it might be birds, and it might be rats or mice, I don't know. One thing's for sure, the netting, the screen netting that I've been putting on things, that really works. Now, they are getting skilled at digging holes, and I'll show you. So this right here is why I think it's probably a rat. Because they can, chew through anything. So basically I need to fix this, double up on it. They'll keep trying to get in because they did do some damage here. You can see that and that back there before I put this netting on. But this cauliflower in the middle here is still looking pretty good, and the onions are looking okay. So I'm hoping that I can keep this bed from getting completely annihilated like this one has been. So we were gone for 4 days, and this is what happened. This was all broccoli. We still have 4 plants and some lettuces, but I mean, you can see they did a whole lot of damage. There's no coming back from that because there's no leaves, so they can't photosynthesize. And we're moving into November soon. So super frustrating. I think that depending on how things go, I may just say I'm not growing anything in this garden except for spring and summer. And we'll just say we're not going to have fall vegetables because this is the 3rd year now that my fall veggies have gotten destroyed. And it's frustrating. But this bed looks amazing. So far, they haven't figured it out. These are beets here. They're getting huge. There's lots of good greens on there. I'd actually like to eat those, but I really want the beets. The lettuces I've been harvesting, we've been eating and giving them to the chickens. And this carrot, the stand of carrots, I've never had one that's been that good before. So the netting is effective. You just have to really keep watch on it to make sure that they're not digging holes like they did over there. So I'm gonna have to fix that. And also all the peas that I planted, those were all eaten. They're gone. They're even eating the long beans that are growing on the trellis. So they're hungry this time of year, and okay, that's fine. So all the stuff that I had a bunch of broccoli planted here, that's all gone. So I'm now, at this point, I'm just going to put down, and you can see inside these cloches, there were plants. No more. Same over here, pretty much just gone. Whatever, we didn't get a harvest for broccoli and cauliflower and things like that this year. We might have a few plants, but for the most part, they're all gone. So I'm going to go ahead and sow all of my mustards because those are the things that I know don't get destroyed by the critters out here. And I was gonna do that anyway, so I'll just do it now. But in this bed over here where the lettuce has been harvested, I'm gonna start sowing more carrots. And I just want to have a continued supply of carrots, and we'll do radishes as well, but in a different bed. Still haven't emptied out these tomatoes. I mean, look at them, they look amazing. There's still fruits on them. It's been such a crazy October, absolutely nuts. More tomatoes here, still looking good. And then these are surviving. This is a broccoli. So far, they've been eaten a little bit by cabbage, white butterfly. But for the most part, they haven't been taken, which is funny because this whole row was more brassicas and those are gone, including the onions. They ate those too. This bed is what I'm going to be working on this morning. So already I have, earlier, a couple weeks ago, I raised this side with more soil, and these are mustards that are planted in here. The only reason I hadn't done anything up till now is I wanted to wait until these zinnias were ready to dry the seed, because I want to save the seed. And then this is mustard down here from earlier in the summer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll pull up all this mustard and give it to the chickens. And these zinnias, I'm going to let them chill for now, but I'm going to fill this side and add the mustard seeds on this side, because at least then the only section we have left to fill with soil is this center zinnia part, because I do want to save these seeds. So they need more time to completely dry out. And then this bed is probably just going to have to sit dormant for the winter. It did have cauliflowers in here, and they all got eaten, as well as most of the onion. So I think I'm just going to cut my losses, and it'll just stay empty. If I want to put some radishes in here, I probably can. I'll just have to net it like I did with the other beds. But yeah, pretty disappointing. It is what it is. I guess I just have to face that I have very high pest pressure, and it's going to be really hard to grow a lot of things. The artichoke's still looking okay. I guess they're finding other things to eat instead. Now, this bed has cucumbers that I'm going to pull up. I'll give those plants to the chickens. It's still got some beans here, and then the rest is sweet potato, which I'm not ready to harvest yet. I want to let this go as long as possible. Looks like we've got some beans that can be harvested here. Yeah, some nice ones. The peppers and these tomatoes are just about done, but there's still some lovely tomatoes on here that if I give them a little bit more time, they will probably ripen. We can have some nice tomatoes. I still have 3-gallon bags full of tomatoes in the freezer to process. Haven't even gotten that done yet. This bed, I am waiting on these 2 peppers to, look how big they are, to ripen so that I can harvest them. But, and I probably will dig this plant up and overwinter it. This is a shishito. It has not done well at all. It had lots of fruits, but they always kind of shrivel before they're ready to be harvested. So I'm not going to save that particular plant. I'm going to pick one of these Sugar Rush Peach to overwinter. I don't need that many. Because they are very spicy. And then we have more jalapenos back here. I'll probably pick 1 or 2 of these plants to dig up and overwinter, but this is going to be our garlic bed this year. So in the next 2 weeks, I have to clear this bed so I can prep it and go on and plant the garlic. So all that is to say is I'm going to start doing some kind of basic cleanup, getting some things out of beds that don't need to be in there anymore. I'll give some of those to the chickens. I wish I could give the beans to the chickens, but beans, raw beans and their plants can be toxic to chickens. So I'm just going to compost those. But there's still plenty to harvest on there, so I'll do that first. I also need to cut back all of the peonies. You can see how rough they're looking. I mean, this is normal for this time of year, but I do want to cut all this back, clean it up so it looks much better just going into the winter. And they'll be dormant under there, and then they'll come back up in the spring. And I'm not going to be messing with the crazy pollinator patch until spring. Same with the roses. They will stay like this until January, at the end of January when I prune them. If I prune them now, we run the risk of new growth getting bit by frost, and I don't want to do that. But you can see how crazy it is, how big it is. That beautiful salvia over there, it's just gorgeous, and that'll stay like that until we have some hard frost. Yeah, and the bees are loving it. Right now, there's not a whole lot of food for bees, so they are very happy with that. The other thing I need to do is, I mean, look, this is so crazy you can't even get in here. So I've got a fig tree here in a pot that I would like eventually to put in the ground. I just don't know where I'm going to do that. And then the rest of all this greenery are the canes from the blackberries. They've just taken over, which is really crazy, but it's not time to prune them yet, because again, if I did them now while we still have warm weather, they will just start sending out more canes, and we really want them just to go to sleep, so I'll have to wait a while. And then this is my one pomegranate fruit. I can't tell you how excited I am about that, because I've had this tree for 4 years. This is the very first fruit it's ever produced. May not seem like much, but it's exciting. All right, so I'm gonna get my gloves on. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do, it's a beautiful day today, but I'm hot in this black shirt. I think I'm gonna go in, change into a light colored shirt, get my gloves on, and start tackling these projects one by one. Okay, so that part is done. Mustard seeds planted on that end now, and I put a few more in a spot that was kind of bare. So once the zinnias dry and I can harvest that seed, then I'll fill the middle section with more soil and plant more mustard. So we're on our way there. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is put new hoops in here. These are great, but the plants are getting so big that they're getting squashed. So I'm going to replace them with my silver hoops, which are taller, and there's definitely plenty of netting, so it's not like I'll be short on netting. So I want to get that done and go ahead and sow some carrots and radishes in this open space right here. So much better. These guys will be so much happier to have lots of headroom to grow, especially the beets, because those beet greens look so beautiful. I want to make sure they have plenty of room to get nice and big. And then we planted 2 rows of those mixed radishes and 1 row of the kaleidoscope carrots. And of course we have all these carrots here too. So this might be the one bed, and I'm afraid to say that and jinx it, that we get a fall harvest from. Okay, so in addition to mustard, I happen to have a package of buckwheat, and that is a great cover crop. So I think what I'm going to do in this bed here where everything pretty much got eaten, I'm going to go ahead and direct sow a whole bunch of buckwheat. I won't be using it as a food source. If the animals eat it, that's fine too. But if they don't, then I've got a really great cover crop to feed this part of this bed. And then when these guys come out, I can do that there as well. So yeah, I think that is what I'm going to do with this, and also that end there of that U-shaped bed as well. Once the tomatoes come out, I'll put buckwheat in there. The only places that we had a problem with fungal infections was in the bed that's got all the carrots and everything in it, and that front bed where I had my potatoes. That's where I'm growing mustard there. So I'm hoping that that mustard will help. I will not be growing potatoes in either of those beds this coming spring. I'll have to do that in another set of beds because otherwise those fungal spores, whatever survives the mustard, will infect the potatoes again. Okay, the wasps are starting to get at me, so I'm going to go ahead and direct sow this buckwheat and water it in. Okay, now it's time to start cleaning up this peony bed. I think it's gonna look so much better. It'll actually look bare. And I have heard from a couple viewers that there's daffodils in here, lots of them. So I don't wanna like plant any fall crops in here that might disturb them. But I've had a bunch of viewers say that they do radishes and or turnips because they're, you know, they don't go down deep, which I love the idea of. But I have a feeling they'll just get decimated by rodents. So I think for now, I'm just gonna pull up all the peony detritus, and then, you know, depending on how things go, maybe I will direct sow some of those things. Okay, that looks much better, much cleaner. And you'll notice, and this is not a good thing, these are daffodils coming up and it is October. So I'm not real pleased about that, but hopefully sometimes when this happens, like I think last year this happened, some of them started to come up in like November, and they got to a certain height and then they just stopped and they didn't grow anymore until like February. So fingers crossed, because not only is this pretty in the spring, it is also a cash crop. So really don't want them to be blooming in the wintertime. They need to wait until the spring. Okay, also cleared out the cucumbers from here. I'm gonna harvest whatever beans are left here and clear out those plants, mostly because I wanna have a good idea of how much, and they're not flowering really anymore, so I wanna have a good idea of how much sweet potato I might be getting in this bed. Then I'm going to cut back, not cut out, but cut back these tomato plants quite a bit, because there are a number of tomatoes still on these plants, and they will never ripen if they have to keep growing stems. So I'm gonna cut these way back, and then basically the plant will start putting all its energy into ripening those remaining fruits. Okay, the last job for today is getting late, and I'm definitely not going to have time to go to the farm today. That's okay. Is I'm going to treat the azalea bed here. So as I've mentioned before, we have this bed of azaleas and camellias that were put in previously by another owner at some point. And these are acid-loving plants. They want really acidic soil. We have very alkaline soil. Our soil, I've mentioned before, is an 8, and our water is also an 8. So twice a year at least, I have to give them some food. This is the one I use. There's lots of options out there, but it also has a lot of iron and sulfur and manganese and calcium to try to lower the pH. So it works. I am not seeing any yellowing yet, which is great. Normally, when they really need the iron sulfate, they'll turn yellow, and that's when I know for sure it's time, and it's probably a little too late, but it's okay. So we are well in advance. This is very large granules, and so I just kind of sprinkle it throughout, and as it rains over the course of the rainy season, they break down and soak into the soil, and it feeds these plants. Now, these are not going to be here forever because I've mentioned this before too. The new law in California for fire safety is to have nothing against your house out to 5 feet. So that means no plantings unless they meet certain requirements. Like putting succulents in would be fine, but anything else that could potentially be flammable is not allowed. So there's a huge list. But that's also okay because honestly, we are in a place where we are very arid much of the year, and these plants require a lot of water. And so I personally don't think I would never have put these here if it was empty when I arrived. So what we're going to do is still keep them going. And then soon, in the next, probably this coming year, we'll pull them all out. We will replace this walkway because it's breaking in a lot of places. And then we'll put probably a gravel bed here with some succulents. And not too many because we want firefighters to be able to have access to the roof and to the windows and all that kind of stuff. So, but for now, I want to make sure that these guys stay healthy because they do produce beautiful flowers for us in the spring. So I'm going to start sprinkling this, and then I'll be done for the day. Okay, so that job done. Last thing I wanted to show you is how the seedlings are looking. I just got them back in the greenhouse because I don't want them to have 8 hours of direct sun right now. It would just fry them. So we're going to harden them off. It's funny. It's different hardening things off to go out from the greenhouse to the farm, like during warm weather, than it is when they're going out in the spring when it's colder. So really we're hardening off so they can handle the sun more than handling cold temperatures. But so this is Amimagus. This tray looks great. There's a lot of seedlings there. This is almost the full amount that I need, that I have budgeted for. This is a tray of Orlea. Let me strain off some of this water. When I put them outside, they really, even though I had already watered them, they really soaked up the remaining water. And so that's why some of this is in here. I really want these soil blocks to be nice and hydrated. Okay, so that was very spotty germination, but I'm all right with that. I can plant another round in early spring, and each one of these plants is extremely prolific. So I think we're gonna be okay. Here we have, I think this is all this is all feverfew here, different varieties of feverfew. And this is straw flower. And I think that's all we've got in here. Yeah, this whole side is straw flower, different colors. We've got golden yellow, vintage white, king size orange, apricot peach, copper red, and silvery rose. So nice. As long as I can keep things from eating this feverfew, we should have a ton, and the same with the straw flower. This is Status, and there's not a lot because these plants, again, are extremely prolific. As long as I can keep the birds off of them, which I'm going to with netting, we'll have a ton of Status. But it's interesting because some of these did not germinate. These are snaps right back here, these two blocks. This is Madam Butterfly Ivory and Madam Butterfly Bronze White. So that germination was really poor. So I'll plant what I've got, and this is not a snap. I don't even know what that is. Actually, that's probably a tomato. That's what it looks like. Why a tomato would be in there, no idea, but I think that's what that is. Okay, so these are stock. Now, stock is not on my list for growing anymore, mostly because I've never had great luck with them, and they're pretty fragile. But I am going to have some space at the farm that I'm setting aside to use up all the seeds that I have that are no longer on the grow list. And so this is a section of stock, and if I get flowers out of it, fantastic, but I'm not relying on these. So if there's wonderful, if I get a bunch of blooms, then that's a bonus. Let's see, what do we got color-wise? We've got Cat's White, Antique Pink, Antique Rose, Cat's Cherry Blossom, Champagne, and Iron Mix. Okay, and then down here, again, very spotty germination for things. These are snapdragons. Some of these just did not germinate well. And then, this whole tray is snapdragons. So yeah, we've got different varieties. This block didn't germinate at all. We're gonna be fine. There's a lot of them. And again, I can plant more in the very early spring. So this is the fall planting for spring, but then I can do a second succession after that. This is all Dara, chocolate lace flower. It's doing great. I hope they all survive and they make it outside because this is one of my favorite flowers. Amazing filler. And then this is Cynoglossum Blue Showers. First time growing it this season, and it did amazing for me. So many stems from a single plant, like 10 stems per plant. So this is going to be nice. And I also have Cynoglossum Antique Rose. I think it's called Antique Rose. So the pink variety that I'll be planting too, but I think I'm not doing that until early spring. So these guys are all looking great. So still coming, that haven't arrived yet. They shipped on the 10th, so they should be here anytime this week, are the tulips. And I can't remember, I think I have about 1,200 tulips coming. So as soon as the compost arrives on Thursday, I want to fill that, the beds that they're going to go in and start getting those planted. And also the ranunculus, which are coming later this month, which is a bummer. Those are the ones I kind of wish were coming sooner. I screwed that up. I somehow chose the wrong shipping week when I ordered them. But it's going to be okay. So ranunculus to get in the ground as well. But that will be my fall planting for spring. And then we'll do a lot of these as duplicates, not ranunculus and tulips, but a lot of these flowers that I just showed you, we'll do a second succession and we'll plant them in like late February, early March, depending on the weather, in our second set of 5 beds. So the first 5 beds that we did the gopher wire for, that's for all of these guys. And then we'll do the second set, will be, some of that at least, will be for the second spring succession. So we should have plenty of flowers. And the nice thing about that is when that first set of plants that was planted in the fall starts to fade out, I can put summer in there and we'll still have spring. So we have some overlap of flowers, and we shouldn't have a time, ideally, as long as things go as planned, we shouldn't have any time where there are no flowers in the field. So that's the plan. Things are going well. I was totally paranoid this whole 4 days that we were gone. Aiden was great. He came in here and watered them every day and all that, but I told him I was totally paranoid that rodents were going to get in here like last year and eat all of my seedlings. Now that happened in the winter time, because I start the early spring seedlings in January because they take a lot longer to grow since it's so cold. And I guess, that's a time when there's not as much food. And so I will know this year when I start them, I will cover them with the plastic domes that I have. I bought these last year. They're humidity domes. They have, you can let air in and out, but mostly what I use them for is to keep the rodents off. So if I cover every night, they can't get in and my seedlings survive. So you're learning something new every day. It's all been trial and error. Everything changes every season and I'm new things. So, okay. So, it's going to be a busy week, and, tomorrow I have to figure out what makes the most sense, but I think it's going to be bed prep so that on Thursday when the compost arrives, I can start putting that compost out. The beds that we did with the gopher wire will get like some calcium, bone meal, some blood meal, and like 2 inches of compost sprinkled on top. Then we'll put the irrigation on, and maybe, depending on the flower, I might put landscape fabric down because that grass is so invasive there. We'll see. I'm trying to make some decisions on that. But that means if I can do all of that on Thursday, then I can plant on Friday, and these guys should be ready by then. Looking forward to it. So the only potential sticking point is that starting Thursday morning, through the end of Saturday, maybe into Sunday, we are under extreme fire danger warnings. We're going to be having 40 to 50 mile an hour winds coming from the interior of the state where it's very hot. So our temperatures will rise a little bit. Not too bad. It's not going to be a heat wave, but that puts us at high risk for if there is a fire starting, it spreads rapidly. So our electric company, PG&E, has already let everybody know that there's a possibility they're going to cut us off from power so that their equipment doesn't start a fire, which is pretty much how most of the fires in California have been starting over the last 15, 20 years. I may have to change plans a little bit depending on what the weather's like, because if it's super windy like that, even if it's not hot, it will dry these seedlings out. It'll just crisp them up. And so it might be better to wait until that is passed, to keep them hydrated in the greenhouse, to go into the ground, and they'll stay more hydrated that way. So we'll just have to see, as we playing it by ear. Also tomorrow I'm going to start using my watering can out there to try to get the beds really wet, because all that soil is kind of hydrophobic at this point. And then I'll probably let the irrigation run for a couple of hours since it's on a drip, a slow, steady drip, and to really start to soak into the soil so that when it comes planting time, the soil is not dry. So that's it. That's what's going on. It's going to be super busy. I still have to deal with the dahlia bed, completely renovate that, which is I'm looking forward to doing. We'll have a lot of cleanup out there. The mums and everything have to come out. None of those I think are going to be salvageable. All bloom too short, or they fried from that heat wave. The buds themselves, before even opening, just crisped up. All right, that's it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that you have a wonderful time in your garden and you are enjoying fall or spring if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. I will see you in the next one. Bye.